Hi guys, this is Sam from Fluid Social talking to you from Recife, Brazil, which is a city in a state called Pernambuco on the northeast coast. Today what I want to talk to you about is something that I get asked a lot of questions about, but more recently it's become obvious in clients and even friends that I see who have overcome the first great hurdle of connecting with women, which is approach anxiety in the first place, that fear of initially going up to someone and meeting them, which is the way that if you're a single guy, you're likely to meet the majority of women in your life. If you're not someone that likes to use Tinder, you're someone that likes to go out there by yourself and actually make things happen for yourself in the daytime. But there's a second great hurdle that I think people don't really talk about, and I think it's very much worthwhile talking about. So I suppose this video is for guys that are out approaching, you've done your approaches, you know what it's like to go and talk to women, and there seems to be a stage that everyone gets to. I know that I did when I was learning at the start, and I see it in a lot of my friends and my clients now, where they can do the approach, but what you do after so much approaching and having been that nice guy before, where you're just sort of pandering to women and trying to impress them and trying to make them like you, the second great hurdle seems to be invulnerability. This sense that you go up and you talk to them and it seems maybe smooth, you're cool, you're not even that nervous, right? You're putting on what seems to be a pretty good show, right? And you're better and you're happy, and you should be, because you're improving, right? You're actually getting better. But what a lot of guys fail to realize is that they've become invulnerable to an extent where it's very difficult for them to express themselves honestly or authentically. And so how this manifests itself is that a girl gives initial interest, right? She gives initial indicators of interest and some attraction, but more often than not, she's going to flake. She's not going to turn up for the dates. And if she does, very often she's not actually going to form a connection with you. And you'll find yourself having conversations, having dates, having interactions that seem on the surface like you did an alright job, but really they don't go anywhere. And when they do, even when you do maybe go home with the girl or end up going on a date with her or a couple of dates, you don't feel happy about it, right? You don't feel satisfied. You don't feel fulfilled. You feel almost worse than you did before. There's this vacant space inside you, this sort of emotional vacuum. And you have, I suppose, the petit mort, what the French call that little death, after a sexual encounter or after a date, where you sort of feel empty and you feel worse than you did before. And not many people talk about this because many people just get stuck in phase one and never even really recognize that there's this other hurdle, that's stopping them from connecting with, in most cases, the women that they really, really like, right? Not just any old person, but one that you think, wait a second, actually, this is my type of girl. And I think there's some potential here. What we do is we start playing not to lose rather than playing to win. So our risk profile goes down. We start playing it safe. We start acting cool. We smile and laugh a little bit less. We don't broach any sensitive topics. We don't take any risks. And I see this all the time. And how it manifests is the girl might show a bit of attraction at the start, maybe even a little bit of flirting during an interaction or a date, but she doesn't really trust you or seem comfortable enough to move any further. There's none of that sense of romance or connection that you see when two people genuinely really like each other and actually form relationships. Instead, it manifests as this sort of cold, maybe she's looking you a bit like you're, what people nowadays would call a fuckboy, someone that just goes out just to sleep with people but doesn't really have a lot about them and is emotionally walled off. And so I want to address this because no one's doing it. Essentially, what you need to do if you're in this position, if you're one of those guys where you can approach, you can connect, initially connect with women and build some level of attraction, but you're struggling to build that connection afterwards, what you need to do, like so many cases in life, both with women and with business, is you need to start somewhere. You need to take that first step towards vulnerability. And what I mean by that is the first action. Those of you that watch my channel know that action, everything always starts with an action. The feeling, the emotion follows the action. The passion follows the action. Everything stems from the physical movement first. It's like if you're feeling nervous, change your body language and you feel confident. If you're scared to say something, say it with vocal resonance and confidence and you will own it after the fact. But it's exactly the same with vulnerability. If you're not feeling vulnerable, if you feel a little bit emotionally walled off, and you can build attraction but you can't build connection, you need to take the action. And what I mean by the action is something risky, something outside of your current comfort zone in terms of what you'd like to talk about, right? Very often I see guys sitting there and they keep things very surface level, talking about where she's from, where she's been, what she likes. But it's all with that sort of like little smile, nodding a bit, but they never really get into it. You don't let a single real emotion cross your face. There's never a belly laugh. There's never a moment of real authenticity and expression. And what I've found is with the most beautiful girls, with the girls that you guys are probably really looking for, that very often you're not actually able to hook up with, the reason is that there's someone else who can afford to be vulnerable with her, who recognizes that she is just another person, even though she gets more attention, even though she's more beautiful and maybe more desirable. There are guys with whom she's been and with whom she'll be again, who can look at her and see that, but also still be vulnerable with her, also still talk about what they want to talk about and have an honest, open conversation. And if there's 99 guys who aren't doing that and then one who is, she looks at that guy who is and says, this guy is the only guy that has the confidence to be completely honest and authentic with me. And that's why that's the guy that I'm going to continue to date, or that I'm going to go on that date with, or even that I'm going to be in a relationship with. If you are someone who's looking for that, lack of vulnerability is going to be destroying your chances of finding a real, beautiful girlfriend who you actually have a potential to be with in a long-term sense. Without the ability to actually speak honestly and openly and address that sort of walled off nature that we have as men, where we are always trying to hide our emotions, you can never really get there. It's the second great hurdle that most guys never get over when they consciously work on improving their social skills. So if you're there, you've got to start breaking the wall down brick by brick, and it starts with pushing yourself out of that comfort zone. If you're someone that's a little bit, you don't really show any public display of affection, maybe you might even try that, push it in that direction. It doesn't matter if you fail. This is about the process, it's not about the individual. By playing not to lose, by avoiding those risks, by playing it safe, you're actually sacrificing everything. Because if a girl recognizes that you can't afford to take those risks, or that you genuinely see it as you're risking something important, then she assumes that you're valuing her too highly. You're putting her on a pedestal, and you're not seeing the reality. You're not seeing her in the way that she sees herself. So, what does that mean in terms of physical actions? Well, what it means is if you're in a group, I've had a few situations where maybe I've been with a girl and her friends have been there, and one of my friends has been with her, and my friend doesn't ever go towards her and start a conversation with her, because what if the group starts listening, right? Well, I don't want to break off the conversation with the group to focus on this one girl, because won't it be awkward then? Won't the group think it's weird that I'm talking to her, that I'm getting close to her, that we're having a conversation about something more personal? Not necessarily. The fact that you can talk about what you want to talk about, that you can take that risk and not be reactive about it and not worry about how that's going to necessarily affect the group dynamic. You're not just trying to keep everything nice and easy and surface level. That's what she's going to find attractive. That adventurousness, that sense that there's nothing to lose, that life is short, that with you things are going to be different. So if you struggle with vulnerability, if you cannot get over this next hurdle, or you never even realized it's there, but you're walled off emotionally in your interactions, this is what's stopping you from getting the results you really need. So I think it's certainly more important than approach anxiety. Approach anxiety isn't even a hurdle. It's just a way of distracting yourself and creating excuses. It doesn't exist. If you see a woman, go and talk to her. The hurdle that you can be focusing on consciously is this one. Are you walling yourself off? Are you hindering yourself, stabbing yourself in the foot when it comes to that moment where really everything matters and it's a girl that you really like? You play it safe, you play not to lose, you play it cool. And in so doing, you present yourself as someone that she doesn't fully trust, she doesn't fully feel comfortable with. And for that reason, she's not going to take it any further. So you've got to address it. You've got to just open up in whatever small way you can. It always starts with that first step that leads to the second one. But I would advise for everyone to start by just telling the truth about how you're feeling in interactions. If you're feeling nervous, go up to the first guy and say, I was actually feeling pretty nervous before So I've come to talk to you. I'm not on my best form. Whatever you say, if you mess it up in that one interaction, it shouldn't matter because that's part of the process. But by breaking down that emotional wall early on and just telling the truth and just being real, the interactions are going to improve and improve, and you're going to have a very strange type of humble confidence where it's not the arrogant playboy confidence. It's a sense of inner peace and inner confidence that women respond to actually much more, because it shows all of the signs of a man who understands himself and knows the truth about his life and the position that he holds in it. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. I know it should be helpful for you guys, because I think a lot of people think that they have one problem when really they have another. You think you have an issue with approaching, when approaching is essentially just opening a door. Do you use a door handle? Do you twist the knob, or do you pull it towards you, or do you just push? Doesn't matter, whatever opens the door. This is the stuff you should be thinking about. Am I being authentic? Am I being honest? Am I messing it up when the chips are down and when it really matters? Are those the interactions that I'm destroying because I'm unable to take that risk and to be vulnerable because I'm scared of losing that girl? The only way you'll lose her is by not taking that risk, by not being vulnerable. Sam out.